Hey guys, how are you doing today?
Good
Out of this
morning.
world.
Out of this world.
You look
Right.
out of this world today, Skylar.
Thank you. Thank you. So what's going on? Everybody ready for the rain this weekend?
No, no, no. I've been enjoying the sunshine.
It's been Florida weather up in Maryland this week, huh?
I mean, I don't know. It's been close in the upper 70s. I feel like yesterday was hot. Had to water my lawn because I got some new grass coming up, and I could feel the sun beating down on it. I was like, my
It's
baby
getting
late.
really dry.
Right. We're in
So
the dry season in St. Pete, so we haven't had rain for like 2 weeks, and the next week, no rain forecasted at all.
Oh my goodness. It must be
80s,
steaming there
upper
right now.
80s, and no rain for a month is usually how it goes here. So it's gonna be this is the nice time
yeah.
right
I'm
before
jealous a
summer.
little bit.
So yeah, credit.
Credit. The dreaded word. It's
Yeah.
important in our economy, but yeah, would love to get your thoughts on credit and starting from a younger age, how to build credit for kids is one of the things that I've always enjoyed as a topic.
Yeah. So I think really getting kids started when you're 18 is opening up a credit card sort of as soon as possible. So, generationally, I think that credit has different taboo. People obviously being in debt is not a good thing, but having the ability to borrow can be a tremendous benefit to basically everyone.
Right.
And so I think, open up a credit card as early as possible is helpful. For one, it starts up your credit history. So you have a longer history of having credit. And then it also can help you, learn how to use credit responsibly, although it is very important not to misuse it. So if you have an 18-year-old and you set up a credit card for them, you don't necessarily need to tell them about it, but you could make purchases and payments
Yes.
on that to pay it off. So I think having credit at a younger age is helpful because it gives you that longer credit history, and it also gives you the opportunity to, build that track record of, making timely payments and
Yeah.
paying off, which that'll help you later on because utilization is another factor that sort of affects the credit score. So, what is utilization? So, Robin, what is utilization?
Utilization is basically the amount of credit that you're actually using based off of how much you have available to you, and you want to try to keep it below a certain percentage. That's why, like, I guess I wanted to ask you guys, like, what are some good ways to have like a low balance for like a younger person, like 18? Like, what is a way for a parent to teach a child, like, oh yeah, keep it
Yeah.
below this or pay it off every month. Like, if you have a balance, try to keep it low. Like,
Yes.
what ways do you feel like parents could do that?
Great question. Great question. And I love credit utilization because it's one of those nuanced topics, but it's important to understand why credit card companies and banks look at that as important. So the rule of thumb is below 30% is healthy, below 10% is the best. So if you can keep your credit utilization, which means your overall credit limit, so say it's $1,000, right? And you have a credit card balance of 300, that's a 30% utilization rate. You want to keep it below 100 dollars, and that just means your credit card bill, not the balance on the credit card, the actual credit card bill should be $100 or less, or $300 or less if you want to take advantage of the utilization rate. Then you pay it off each month. Every time that you get the bill, pay it off, and keep it around that level. Credit company is going to say you are responsible with credit. If you go over 30% and you go 50, 60, they're saying this person is too reliant on credit, and they're not able to make their purchases and pay it off properly, and plan accordingly. So That's the rule of thumb, 10 to 20, 30%, under 10% better, under 30% is good. Over that, bad. So one of the reasons to get credit at an earlier age, you build up the history. Credit cards companies see that you're using properly, and then they're going to say, hey, this person is responsible with credit. I'm going to give them a bigger credit limit. So then you can start increasing your credit limit. And then by the time you're 25 and you're applying for, say, a Southwest card, they'll give you $23,000 in credit. That allows you to really utilize take advantage of credit card and points and everything, but you have a much wider utilization rate now. So instead of 1,000, you can go 5,000 and still be under your 30% or 10% limit. So
Yeah, if you have $1,000 credit limit and you have your $1,000 of usage or utilization, then that's 100%. But if you had a $10,000 credit limit, that same $1,000 that you have borrowed is now only 10%.
Right.
And I think that comes into play too a lot of times when people have lots of different credit cards or different lines of credit, and then they pay it off and they say, "Should I close this?" And my
Never close it.
thing is you don't close that credit line. You keep that credit line open because I think they look at utilization on a per line basis, but they also look at it on an aggregate line of basis. And so you can get a credit report each year for free from the freecreditreport.com or .org.
.com, yep.
And basically, you can order one from Experian, TransUnion?
Yeah.
And then there's a third as well. But there's the 3 credit reporting agencies, and you can order a free credit report from each of those once a year. You don't have to do it all at the same time. So you could do multiple credit reports throughout the years. But basically, that'll show you every line of credit that you have open and what the current balances are. And it's good to kind of verify that because, from time to time, there are fraudsters out there that are opening lines of credit for folks that they did not open. And that's a good way to sort of check it. Also, a lot of times the credit cards that you sign up for may offer a free service to help you, kind of track your credit
score at any point. Yeah.
And it's free to you because it gives them access to see your
right.
So that's what you're signing up for, is you're giving them a little bit more information, and then they make it a little bit easier for you to kind of track what your score is. But it's useful to be able to just log into your credit card and see, what your line of credit is. Also,
Also, since usually it is recommended that you don't close them, like you should be very selective where you're opening a card at, because you don't want to have like a million credit cards. So try to be selective and just, make a good decision.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you are interested in reducing your utilization and your utilization is okay at the moment, but you know that you want to do some spending, a good thing to do is to call your credit card company and ask them if they will increase your line of credit. A lot of times they'll proactively send out mailers that would ask you what your current income is, or maybe the mailers, I'm old. They'll send you emails or pop-ups when you log on to ask you, what your current income is and what your current sort of monthly expenses are. And what they're doing is trying to see if you would qualify for additional credit, but you don't have to wait for them to send that to you. You can call and ask.
Yeah, great advice.
Yeah. And so I do like credit cards. One is, there's cash back at certain places. There's also rewards points. I use the Southwest Chase card a lot, and it pays for a lot of our travel. I think, Nav, didn't you get a companion pass?
Yeah, I've had the companion pass for 3 years now. So every time I fly, my wife flies for free when we use Southwest. So
I love that card.
It has some good benefits if you can utilize it correctly.
There's lots of perks that are,
and your points accumulate faster, which you can also use to pay for flights. So
right. I'm going to Puerto Rico later this month, and it was all paid for by points.
There you
I
go.
love that.
That's very nice. So, the other thing when you're using a credit card is that you are spending the bank's money. You are not spending your money. And so if there's ever any fraudulent charges on your credit card, you have to call the bank, you fill out an affidavit saying that, which is a fancy form saying that, hey, this wasn't mine. And then they take the money and put it back onto your account, and they fix it. Debit cards look the same as a credit card, but they work a little different because you're actually spending money from your own bank account. And if there's ever any fraudulent charges, now you are out of the money, and it's
Right.
going to take a little bit longer to get it back, and it's not going to be as easy of a process. So
You usually have to catch it within 3 days for the other banks to say, maybe I'll give it back to you. Credit cards, you have a much longer time period to do that.
from a liability standpoint, credit cards are a lot better than debit cards. So you know, get the credit cards, use it, pay it off each month. Don't carry a balance, because the interest rates on credit cards, you know, sometimes they were as low as like 15%, which is still really high.
Still high, yeah.
But a lot of times they're, you know, 23, maybe even a 30%. They don't call it 30%; they call it 29.99%. But that, and basically what that does is it divides whatever the stated rate is by 12, and that's how much interest you pay each month on your balances that you carry over from month to month. So a 30% credit card percentage is very high, and you're going to end up paying 30 divided by 12. What's that? Close to 2.5%. It's 2.5% per month. So if you found yourself in a situation where you have an ongoing balance and you're not sure how you're going to pay it off, and if you have multiple lines of credit, you could get an offer, or you could open up a new line of credit if that's an option, if you're available to have additional credit extended to you. But if you have multiple lines of credit and you have one credit card and you can't pay it off, your other credit card might send you offers. These they definitely do send in the mail for what they call balance transfers. Now, with the balance transfer, there's usually a balance transfer fee, and it's typically between 3 and 5%.
Yep.
And so you would agree to transfer your balance from one credit card to another, and you would pay a 3 to 5% fee on that balance transfer. However, that balance transfer may have a 0% offer for
A certain period of time.
monthly interest, and it's a certain period of time. Sometimes it's 6, 12. I've seen 18 months before, 24 months. So basically, it's like you pay this 3 to 5% fee up front. Say it's 5%, you pay that up front, and then you don't pay any interest for the next 12 months. So if you aren't going to be able to pay that balance down in a 2-month time period where you're paying 2.5% each month, and you just pay a one-time fee of 5%, that's going to work out close to, you know, that's your break-even point. If I can't pay this off in 2 months,
right,
I should probably do this balance transfer, and then it'll buy you a little bit of time.
Yep.
So this could be very useful.
And
Very
then
useful.
your payments are
Pay it
going
off by the
to the
time.
balance.
Yeah. And the other option, sometimes they don't charge a balance transfer fee, but they charge a lower interest rate for, you know, say instead of 6% or 30%, you might pay 5 or 6% for that year.
Yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. Great advice. Credit is so important. It's everywhere. Your credit score is important, especially for getting a loan later on. So want to start early, use it correctly, and make sure not to pay credit card interest at all costs.
And sometimes these credit card offers too give you like 0% on new purchases for a certain period
of time.
And so like if you have a big purchase coming up and you're trying to finance it, you could finance it for free through a credit card and not pay any interest on it.
Yep. Pay it off before the period ends, and you save all that interest and time and money. It's a great tool if you know how to use it correctly.
Yeah. So
that was great, guys. Have a great week.
Thank
All right.
you.
Take care. Thank
Bye.
you.